What's up everybody, Rick Fan here and welcome back to the Fan of Life channel, Fan of Life show, whatever you want to call it. Thank you very much for stopping on in. In today's episode, I'm super thrilled to physically sit down with Falisha Rexford, head of the Rexford Group. We took herself out of Zoom and actually sat down face to face. Felicia is an Air Force veteran. Among other things, she runs a successful realty group. She also owns property throughout various states and has now ventured into the world of Airbnb. But more importantly, above all else, she's a devoted wife and mother. And in this video, she talks about how to find that balance. And I truly believe, and she proves it, that you can have it all if you're willing to work for it. This interview or this conversation was super informative. During the process of editing this video, truthfully, I've watched it 4 times, taking down a bunch of notes. So I hope you guys watched and enjoyed the video and then re-watch it again because there's a lot of gems and nuggets in this video. So without further ado, my friend, or at least now my friend, Falisha Rexford. Felicia.
Yes,
we did
Rick.
it.
We finally are here.
We've been talking about this for a while.
Yes.
And thank you very much for taking me out of Zoom and putting me in front of you.
I know.
And setting up this awesome facility.
We can touch each other.
I know, right? Now, before we get into the interview, the conversation, I want to acknowledge one awesome thing.
Okay.
These are the best stools
I know.
I've ever sat on in my life. So,
fun, right?
So just to give a quick shout out, we're in your brother's studio, so
Yes.
I might have to, one of these stools might go missing. That's all I'm saying.
I'll
Okay?
back up the truck.
But in all seriousness, I know you guys just got back from a family trip, right?
Yep.
So welcome back.
Thank you.
Thank you for making the time. And this today is really about you, and you have a very unique story, very unique experience in the world of entrepreneurship. And I want your story to really resonate with people that I can't reach.
Okay.
Because I think it's a unique story. So let me do a couple of check marks and then you have at it.
Okay.
You are an Air Force veteran.
Yes.
You are mother of 2.
Yes.
Married to a stud of a guy, fire captain.
Oh, yes.
And I met him and he is a stud. Okay. You run an Airbnb business that's ever growing.
Yes.
You run a rental portfolio. On top of that, you also service military in terms of traditional real estate. Correct? Now, I can't multitask. I'm exhausted already. How do you do it?
Okay. The balance, right?
Yeah.
I think that's what everybody's always asking me about is how I balance that. And I think in reality, you always have to know your priorities, where everything lays, right? So one of the most important things that my husband and I did just recently, actually, just a few weeks ago, was we went and stayed at the Red Rock to do a goal-setting staycation, my husband and I. Because if our goals aren't aligned, I can very easily become the businesswoman that is way too much, over here, doing business, making money, grinding, and what do I get out of focus? Family, and my family goals, and my lifelong goals with my partner, those kind of things. So I think that goal setting is very huge. If the goals are annotated in black and white, it's easier to find that balance because what's most important? This is most important. Okay, that's why I'm going to say yes to the family vacation because although money and work is awesome, what is most important to me? So that goal setting retreat that we just did is something we try and do on a yearly basis. And that is truly to stay in focus with my husband, stay in focus with my family goals, my lifelong goals, those kind of things. And then how are we going to attain them? And of course, being an entrepreneur and being financially free leads up to a lot of those goals, right? So I think that goal setting is huge. And then figuring out your actionables, right? Taking action and achieving those goals. So I think that's how I'm able to figure out balance is kind of always seeing where I should be focused. And then going from there, if that makes sense.
No, totally. And let me expand on it a little bit. I love what you said because you do this on a regular basis. And where people forget also is the goal setting steps and the goal setting techniques. It's not a one time and then you're done. It's ever changing.
And daily. You have to touch them daily. And so every time my husband and I even have a moment, we're constantly reevaluating. Yesterday, we went on a walk. He physically asked me, he goes, where are we at on our monthly goals? And so we kind of talked about that. So if you're not constantly reevaluating that, then your actionables aren't going to carry over for your next day, my work day, right? And that stays true in my business with my ladies. So today's Monday. Monday at 9 a.m., I have a meeting with my team and my girls, and we're talking about our weekly actionables. What
Right.
needs to take place this week?
Right.
What are some of our big idea goals?
Right.
But what needs to take place this week? And always kind of touching those, figuring them out, doing them, and then expanding your goals, right? So I think that's really important. That helps me figure out that balance.
I'm a percent I don't have any experience in knowing you or Nick. Just by the 2 minutes that we've been talking, your personality, number one, you're very driven. Number two, you're also very expressive. So
Yes.
you're probably more of the, okay, what do you want to do? Okay, let's go. We're going to figure it out. I think a lot of times what stops people is the, paralysis by analysis. We hear that all the time, right? How do we get or help people to understand that it's great to have information, but at the end of the day, you have to take action. You have to move. You have to cross over to that side. What would you say to somebody that is constantly researching for the sake of researching because there is some comfort in there? If they want to change their life, they have to take action. Like, how do you get people to do that?
I don't think you can succeed until you failed.
Okay.
Right? I can't succeed in anything until I've figured out and possibly failed at something to better myself to then succeed, right? So let's use the Airbnbs, for example.
Okay.
I had long-term rentals before I ever decided to get into the Airbnb world. I think now people look at me on social media or what have you and be like, oh, it's so easy. She can just manage it. No, it's not easy. One, but two, I didn't know how to manage an Airbnb.
Right.
I stepped up to the cold pool and I jumped in and then I figured it out. Right. So, and I figured it out through failures, and I figured it out with maybe a bad review here or there so that I could take that information and then get better and take it on to my next Airbnb. And then when I start up my third Airbnb, I'm like, okay, this is what we need to do. So I don't think any of us can truly succeed at anything until we've failed once or twice or 10 million times, right?
So accepting failure is part of the process.
Always.
And
Always.
almost taking it to the next step, which is welcoming failure, because I think there is something that is very relief oriented when you make mistakes, but you go, okay, I got that out of the way. Like you said, I've learned. Now my next, second, third, fourth venture is going to be even more productive because I have life lessons, have a baseline.
Right.
So in the vein of being driven, have you always been like this, or is this something that developed over time?
My brother's around here somewhere.
Oh yeah, he's around here.
Well, ask him if I've always been crazy. Yes, I think I have a lot of energy, and so my energy helps with kind of.
Never noticed, by the way. But
Yeah. A lot of energy, so that helps with being driven. I wake up early. I do things that are going to also invigorate my energy. I.e., this morning I went for a walk first thing. I drank water. I put good food in my body. These are things that are going to propel me into a productive day, right? And I think with that energy comes the need to be successful, driven, accomplished, that kind of thing. So it starts out with the most basic of things. I really think so. With the most basic of things. I've watched a ton of your stuff. You get up early. I've seen sometimes your cold dips in the pool and things like that, right?
Yeah.
I do very much the same thing. Wake up early, drink some water, put some good food in your body. Right. That's going to stimulate my energy. That's going to help propel my drive. That walk this morning that took 1 hour got me on the same page with my husband for today's events, but also for my weekly, what I was going to go into my meeting talking to my girls about, that kind of thing. So I think a lot of this may be some natural energy, but I do things to help encourage that.
Beautiful.
And then that kind of, at least it points me in the direction that I need to go for the day, the week, the month, the year.
So speak on that a little bit, because I can't speak to this, meaning that a lot of mothers out there, they put their family, their kids first. Obviously, that's a natural thing, and it's a wonderful thing.
Right.
But I think, and I've seen it even in the course of my own mom's life, right, is that you put your kids and your family first, and you forget to take care of yourself.
Yep.
And one of the things you just said right now is the first thing I did this morning is I took an hour for myself.
Yep.
I drank my water. I did my walk.
Yes.
I centered myself. Talk to the moms out there that say, I don't have the time to do the things for myself. Now, tell them how important that is.
Love that question. I love that question. And I've got friends here in the room too that know exactly kind of my thought process here. I am a better me. I am a better mother. I am a better wife. I'm a better friend. I'm a better sister. I'm a better businesswoman when I've taken care of myself.
Right.
So if I've done my walk and I'm healthy and I'm fit, I'm going to walk into my appointments with more energy. I'm going to come into the classroom. I'm also crazily enough, homeschooling my children, actually homeschooling my children, not just sending them to CCSD, like taking their curriculum on.
Okay.
I am going to be a better teacher if I've done my walk for the day and if I've eaten the right amount of food and I've taken my vitamins and I've done all of those things. I'm going to come into the classroom a happier person. I roll out of bed groggy and tired and exhausted and things like that. How am I going to walk in? What kind of energy am I going to bring to my children?
Right.
The wrong kind of energy.
Okay, so talk about goal setting again, going back to what you said. You mind sharing maybe some of the basic goals that you and Nick as a family, mother, father, and then business partner? Some things you guys talk about?
So one of our one of the goals that he brought to the table, that's the other fun thing when you actually work on goals together when you're in a relationship. Obviously, it's individual goals are awesome, but our relationship and family goals is what you asked me about. So I'm going to go ahead and spill some of those. Going back to basics, a date night once a month. A date night once a month. I do have children. They are loud boys. I need to be able to sit at a table and just have a conversation adult to adult with my husband. Traveling is always on the books. One of my family goals and actually it was a yearly goal, but I'm going to complete it in the month of March. So I put it on my calendar. This is going to be completed in the month of March, is to get passports for my entire family.
Okay.
So I want to get the boys their passports. That doesn't mean that we're going on some crazy vacation this year, but I've taken the step to put me in the position when the time comes, we'll be able to just go and do that, right? So getting them passports is a big family goal. We've looked at doing a East Coast trip where, again, I homeschool. So I told Nick, we're going to plan this out as a family. Stops all the way to the East Coast. We're going to make it very historical, hit all the monuments, that kind of thing, integrate it into the homeschooling classroom.
Beautiful.
Yeah, and I think that there's just so much room there to bond as a family, get excited as a family, learn as a family. There's a lot of things that almost everything on the East Coast, I haven't actually seen in person, you know? So the Lincoln Memorial, I haven't seen that. My husband hasn't seen that. So as a family, we get excited. We get to become educated together. And I think the intent that I'm going for is hopefully kind of bonding us more and more, you know, with the education process. So those are just a couple of the family ones, I guess. And then we have monetary goals. Then we have real estate portfolio goals, you know. They go on and on. But yeah, that's a couple of our family ones.
No, that's fantastic. And I say this all the time. Like my parents, you know, we're first generation. So my mom and dad were busy building a life for myself and my sister, giving us, you know, the American dream, the opportunity for the American dream.
Right.
I can't tell you what I got for my 12-year-old birthday.
Right.
But I can tell you when my dad and our ritual when he came from work was, back in the day, there was a show called Three's Company. So him and that's how we started practicing learning English, by watching that show.
Yeah.
And coincidentally, they retired and moved here. And now every day after dinner, I go over there and I watch an episode with him on YouTube.
Oh, that's awesome.
But my point to that is the serendipity of you guys trying to educate your kids and building that bond, I just can't tell you what that's going to carry on.
Yeah.
You know, it's going to be amazing. So congratulations on that. That's awesome.
Thank you. And to piggyback on your story, because you just inspired me to kind of tell a little leaflet, I guess, of us. This past Christmas, we did not do Christmas. So we didn't do the traditional tree. We didn't do the presents. I believe in everything you just said about the experiences and the moments and the things that you're going to actually remember. We actually bought our third Airbnb property in California, in Big Bear, California, and it needed a full flip. And we decided to utilize the week of Christmas to go out there and flip it.
Wow.
Nick, me, and my two boys. And we did not do Christmas. We did take 2 days to go snowboarding in the morning here and snowboarding at night. But that entire week was about experiences. It was about living in a new house and getting excited about the business. It was talking to them about the business, why we were picking XYZ out for finishes, etc. And then telling them, while we're here, we're going to go make some experiences. We're going to go snowboarding, but you're not doing presents this year. You know, I truly believe in what you just said. And it's not all about the gifting with family, but
they're going to remember that Christmas.
Nick and we had a blast.
For sure.
We absolutely had a blast. We didn't have a working, functional kitchen faucet until 2 days before we left. We were washing all of our dishes in a bathroom sink. But I mean, that's the stuff that makes, I think, us real. I think that's what helps us get excited about the next project. You know, we still like being a little hands-on. And then the long-term goal is to pass down these Airbnbs to my children at a very young age. I want Nolan, my oldest, to be pretty much one of my site managers for the Airbnb. And this may sound crazy. He's a very intelligent little boy. I want him booking people and kind of doing the back end stuff at around the age of 15.
That's amazing.
How much life experience will that help him with? You know, the business side, the having to be, the relationships that he has to build with people, the cleaners that he has to schedule, the maintenance repairs, the snow removal, things like that. I mean, I'm very excited. So these Airbnbs are something that we've integrated into our family dream, which may incorporate not having a Christmas and not having Christmas presents, but working on the Airbnb that's going to help us make money, that will help us to continue to travel. It's a ripple effect, right?
That's a beautiful thing. That's a beautiful thing. I forgot where I read it, but I read that a lot, majority, whatever the statistic is, let's call it 80%, because it was a big number. 80% of businesses out there or something like that, that are privately owned, do not have a successor because the founder, the parents, never integrated the kids as part of the process.
Yeah.
You know, your kids, when you pick up your next Airbnb, are going to be excited because they're part of the process.
Yeah.
And if you decide, and it sounds like you are, to pass it down to your kids, they've already been part of it. You know, a lot of times these guys, they go out and they work and they build $100 million company. And then when they're ready to retire, they can't because they can't give it to the kid that's never stepped foot in the office.
Right.
So that's a great thing. And if you guys are listening, that's a great business and family life lesson too. So let me ask you this. You guys have a lot of stuff going on, a lot of dreams, a lot of goals, and you guys are active with it. Do you find, I know you said you had alone time by doing your walk and stuff like that. Do you ever set time when you say, guys, we are going to get together and there's no talk about business? This is just about us as individuals and as a family. Do you make time for that?
Yes.
Okay.
Whenever we can, and sometimes it may not be the traditional sitting down at dinner. So last night we sat down at dinner and had those times. And what we did was a recap of our recent snowboarding trip.
Cool.
Yeah, like what were your top threes? We always do top threes. What was your top 3 moments of that trip? What was your top 3 moments of that trip? So that's really big for us. We are also outdoors people. And I may not be super traditional in the homeschooling kind of mindset. Sometimes homeschooling to us is a hike up a mountain, you know?
I love it.
Or a mountain bike ride up a mountain. Things that are going to be challenging, where we're going to fall. We're going to persevere as a family. We get to the top of the mountain. We sit there. We look over the valley and be like, we did this together. Beautiful. You know? So a lot of our family moments, I think, are adventures that we're out there doing together, experiencing together. I hadn't been on a bike, and when I'm telling you that kind of example, that's real life. You know, that was Sedona a couple months ago. We decided to go mountain biking. I hadn't been on a bike since I was like 10 years old. So, but we did it. We made it to the top of a mountain, and then those were our moments. Those were our family moments where it wasn't really business. It was more life, maybe a little bit of morals, you know, and ethics and some life lessons in there, right? But made it to the top of the mountain, overlooked it, and we had somebody take this picture, and that picture is going to sit in our RV now. And I think we make a lot of family time amongst our adventures, and we're just talking real life, and usually some kind of goal setting or maybe pushing individual boundaries. You know, I've got 2 boys that came out of my body, but they couldn't be any more different, you know? Right. So a challenge for one may not be a challenge for another. And those conversations come to a head when you have the cell phone off and when you do make time for the family. You know, we can kind of work through some of those challenges. So sometimes, like I said, it may not be sitting down at dinner like we did last night, recapping. Sometimes it may be a hike or a mountain bike thing or whatever, but we make sure that those conversations are constantly being had.
I love these conversations that we're having right now, and I always try to listen to the words that people use. And you said, make time for family. And that's huge, because the excuse for everybody is, I don't have time. No one has time. Everyone has 24 hours. No one has time. You make time
if it's important to you.
Correct.
You make time if it's important to you. You have to carve it out. And what I've also learned in business is that I don't apologize for it anymore. Actually, I do the exact opposite. I embrace it. So in the beginning of my real estate career, if I had a soccer game or something I had to go to, you know, sometimes I would just say, you know, I'm unavailable. I can't, you know, show you that house until around 1 o'clock. One, I didn't think it may have been the client's business that I was at my kid's soccer game, right? And I kind of wanted to shield that a little bit. Now I've learned to embrace it, because I think that the normal person is going to understand and probably respect you more 100%. For embracing that. And so one of the things that I'll do is I try my hardest to update my voicemail daily, which people think I'm crazy about, but I really try. And that came with setting the expectation and showing people, where my priorities were that day, and that I would get back to them as soon as I possibly can. I am one person at the end of the day, So if my voicemail is, good morning, it's Monday, February, whatever, I'm going to be homeschooling my children from 8 to 10, showing clients from 10 to 11. 1, I've set the expectation. 2, I'm not apologizing for it. 3, I'm showing you I'm a hard worker, and I will get back to you.
Right.
So that was something that I learned to not shy away from, embrace it. And I can't tell you how many times people hear my voicemail and go, oh my gosh, that's the best voicemail. Have fun with your family. Get back to me at 5. They understand, like, this is real life. I can't just be a business person all the time because I am a mother.
Right.
And I am a wife,
right.
And then I'm Felicia somewhere in there,
Right,
So...
right. Well, if you're not going to respect your time, who is?
Right.
Right. You got to set the standard. You got to set the expectation, like you said.
Or people will walk all over you. They will attempt to walk all over you.
That's very true. And I think when people respect your time and it's that one-on-one time, say that client calls at 5 o'clock, then they can trust that, hey, she's not distracted.
Right.
Now I'm getting quality, Felicia time, which is, I think, as a client of any source, I think that's valuable.
And I use that terminology in my voicemail a lot, which is I may not be able to answer my phone. I'm trying to be respectful for the person standing in front of me, i.e. my client at that time.
Yes.
Again, understandable, right?
Right.
So
people are watching you, they're listening to you, and they're seeing you. You're well put together. You're awesome at your business, your family. You have all this balance. Of course, this happened overnight, right? With no struggles, no stress.
It was piece of cake. Just woke up like that, and it just was there.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, so honestly, in all seriousness, the road to entrepreneurship is this and then some, right? Yes. It's like a Bollywood dance, by the way. Yeah, and tears.
And just all of it. Yes.
Yeah, a lot of tears in the shower, a lot of crying in the pillow.
Yeah. Arguments, friction in the home. It's not always everything that I'm saying. It's
elaborate on some of that. You've done some of the road.
My brother's sitting right here, and I embrace our history. So a lot of times I set the tone. I think people will see a social media post, clothing or a car or a house, and be like, she's lucky. I'm like, no, I'm not lucky. I worked my ass off to get here. Sorry if I can't say ass, but I worked my ass off to get here.
No.
And so I love kind of just rewinding it back and setting the tone of, no, I spent a lot of time in no home, in a travel trailer, in a mobile home park growing up with nothing, hand-me-down, shoes that didn't fit me. And I always tell my parents, that's not a dig on my parents. Right. I love my parents. That's not a dig on my parents. But it is to set the stage. No, I wasn't given everything. I actually was a waitress at TGI Fridays trying to put myself through college, realizing I am paying off my credit card every month, that I'm not making progress. What do I need to do? That's what actually pushed me to go into the military, into the Air Force. I didn't have medical. We didn't have medical. I didn't have dental. I didn't have the basics in life. And at baseline, I thought, gosh, I could make a paycheck. I can gain an education. I can gain worldly experiences, build a resume, and have medical. I'm going to go do that. Right. And it ended up being one of the best and scariest moves of my life. I look back and I thank God for that push. I don't know how I expedited it so much. My husband and I were dating. We were young. We've been together since high school. Okay. So imagine a young love. Right. Right? You're fresh out of high school. Now you've got a couple years not being in high school. You're kind of doing adult things and going to college and being able to enjoy each other more, et cetera, et cetera. And then I just come home and say, I'm going into the Air Force. Yeah. And when I made that decision, I was gone. Between saying that and being gone, I was gone in 30 days. Wow. I thought that was and it still kind of makes me feel a little shaky, because when I can't believe I love my husband so much. And back then that was that butterfly love, that love, that I decided to walk away from and take a chance. Right. He's a young, good-looking guy. He could have easily left me, or we could have not worked out. Was that hard too? Super freaking hard, like really hard. But that decision propelled me into another good decision, into like a military contracting job that I had for many years. Okay. And then that led me into my idea of real estate, So all of those doors open, super blessed to walk through them. It's not a stroll down like this easy path, though. You have to sometimes really commit. It's going to be a grind. It could be very difficult, but then another door opens and I'm going to forge that one too. I'm going to go for it. All of those steps led to where I am today. And it took a ton of sacrifice. sacrifice.
Right.
A ton of sacrifice. And I think a lot of people want to succeed without the sacrifice. That's not going to happen. That's not going to happen.
Yeah.
You know?
I think the road to success, whatever that definition is for people, they have to basically build a callus, get the bruises, get the bumps, take the licks.
Yeah.
Because on the other side too, success has its own headaches.
Yes.
Well, that's one thing that people don't realize, right?
Yes.
You know, you have a whole different, group of challenges now
And stresses.
being quote unquote successful than being, not successful or being part of the norm.
Yes.
And without going through those things and building the muscle, building the calluses, it's a tough ball game.
Yes.
So I think that journey itself is important. I typically like to ask people kind of like their lesson or their tidbit or whatever advice they want to give, but I'm gonna change it up with you a little bit.
Okay.
So
Hit me.
instead of you telling the audience directly,
Okay.
you can look at the camera, instead of telling the audience, telling me, I want you, if you can, kind of capsulize a life lesson or something that you want to pass down to your kids.
Oh,
So you're
to my
speaking
kids?
to your kids now. If there's any life lesson from all the things that you're gonna teach them,
I already know it. It's something that I believe in my heart.
it's yours.
This is so basic,
Okay.
but it's also gotten me to where I am today. And I think if people really embrace this very small little nugget, they could do very well in life.
Okay.
My children, whatever they want to do, whether they want to go to college, not go to college. I'm not a mom that's going to be like, you have to go to college. It's not me. I want them to find something they love in life. If at the end of the day, I die and I've created 2 good, kind human beings, I've succeeded. Do you know how far I've gone in life just because I'm a good person? Because I care about people?
Right.
Truly.
No, I don't-
Trying to invest in being a good person, whether that's opening a door for somebody, whether that's calling somebody when you know that they're down. Being a good person is going to have its own rewards. Not that you do it for a reward, but I'm telling you,
Right.
it will still reward you.
Right.
I don't care what my kids do in life. I want them to be good people. It's truly that freaking basic. Be a good, kind person. I'm good. I'm good.
Not much I can add to that.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. So we're gonna do this again.
Okay.
You're the best.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.